Welcome to Float Absent Stories, the podcast where we tune in, we unwind, and we float absent stories. I'm Thomas, and it's my delight to have you. Thank you for joining me here this evening. In this scene, we'll travel to Monterey Cove, on the central coast of California, south of San Francisco. There we'll find the wealthy marine life and history of this storied seaport. If you've been tuning in to Float Absent Stories for a while, you probably know that I have my own battles with rest. Presently, I know that not all of you are here since you've got trouble resting. A few individuals fairly appreciate having a comforting background as they gesture off, and that's dazzling for anybody who is going through a challenging time of sleep right presently, in spite of the fact that, I trust you know, you merely are not alone in that. I realize how cruel it can be to hear somebody say, I get that as well. And that's why it implies so much to me that you've chosen to undertake this podcast. I trust it can be a source of consolation to you. So fair, take some profound breaths in your possessed time, and as you are doing, attempt to let go of any weight you're putting on yourself to drop snoozing. The sooner you ease that weight, the more likely it'll fairly happen. Rest could be a normal preparation that our bodies are wired to do. Indeed, if those wires sometimes get a little crossed and conflicted, you may continuously be able to reset them. The finest thing you'll do to assist in getting there is to fairly unwind and console yourself. And in the event that it makes a difference, at that point, know that I'll likely be doing the exact same thing myself. So presently, I invite you to transport your creative ability to a dim oceanfront in a cool, comfortable morning. Listen to the sound of the waves along the shore and feel the fresh breeze blowing delicately all over. Typically, where our story starts, the city is calm for the minute, and the cool morning mist feels new, scoured by the ocean breeze. Fog swells around you as you make your way towards the water. The marine layer is thick at this time of day, like a cover of mist hanging over the coast. This wealthy inlet biological system groups with life. It's domestic to more than 300 species of angler and over 30 sorts of well-evolved creatures, and about 100 sorts of feathered creatures. It's moreover the location of a submerged chasm more profound than the amazing canyon. The thought of seeing the common magnificence of the range and its animals is what draws you towards the Narrows this morning. Nowadays, you've got nothing to do but ponder this marvelous waterfront. For thousands of years, indigenous Americans have lived along the Monterey Narrows. The wealth of algae and other natural life in this seagoing haven has made it a flourishing place to live for eras. As a city, Monterey's history extends back to colonial Spain's investigation of the area that would end up being California. It started in 1542 when a Spanish pilgrim got to be the primary European to see the inlet long after the individuals who had been living here for eras. He named it the Cove of Pines, a fitting portrayal for this portion of the coastline, whose mouth is without a doubt lined with pine trees. The title stuck, as it were, briefly, in spite of the fact that 60 years later, another Spaniard landed on the shores of the inlet. We renamed it in honor of the Czech of Monterey, who was an emissary of Spanish colonial America. In modern Spain, as you walk towards the water, you pass through the memorable Custom House Square and a routinely formed open zone where ruddy bricks cover the ground. It's bordered on one side by the Custom House itself, a 19th century building with a secured yard held up by columns wrapped around it. As you walk through the square, you respect the fine ancient building that's been protected at its head, and you consider the grouping of occasions that would unfurl over the centuries, taking after the naming of Monterey as European powers jockeyed for control of the unused world, comparable to what is presently the U.S. state of California. The city of Monterey was a place for three distinctive nations amid its recorded history. To begin with, it was the capital of Spanish California under the control of colonial Spain. At that point, it passed to a recently free Mexico, and at last, it got to be a portion of the juvenile joined-together states on September 9th, 1850, whereas the unused American country was still in its earliest stages. California authoritatively to be the 31st state of the Union. Its sacred tradition was held in Monterey. The basis of Monterey's significance was, and continuously has been, the cove, this lavish environment and profitable harbor served all through its history as the site's nourishment bushel and its entryway to universal exchange. It was once a major angling and whaling harbor. Sometime recently, the conservation of its waters towards the conclusion of the 20th century. Walking at a comfortable pace, you before long reach the water. Here you have a choice to create. You may turn right and take after the Narrows to arrive, or turn cleared out and take after it out towards the Pacific Sea. Impulses you head towards the sea into the wind. Breathing within the salty scent of the water, you meander along a way that skirts the shore. It takes after the course of the trains of the ancient Southern Pacific Railroad. Once took you walk following Fisherman's Wharf with its numerous fish eateries and boutiques, but you proceed past it without delaying. Nowadays, you look for the splendor and comfort of nature, not the flurry of shops. The way will lead you along the water, and you look out over the blue-gray inlet, which reflects the foggy sky overhead. Before long, a lapping sound draws your consideration. You see down on a small shoreline where tender waves apathetically wash the sand. There you spot a seal lying down, secured in sand, and in part mixing in with the ground it's resting on. At that point, you see another close the primary. Presently, now that your eyes are balanced to the sight, you filter the rest of the little shoreline and see handfuls of seals resting together. A few are extended out, getting a charge out of their space not far away absent. An entire gaggle of them are heaped up together like a bunch of puppies following a mother canine. As you observe, a small seal rouses itself languidly. At that point, it flops fumblingly towards the water where it floats absent, all of a sudden elegant. You hear the screech of a seagull overhead and see it swooping down towards the waves, turning your consideration back to the path. You begin once more on your way. You wander into an inlet so sound and quiet that you simply can't encounter this many seals. Right nearby, the most drag of the city. A few ways to encourage you to pass the cannery push, which was once the domestic of the sardine and other angle canning industry when this was a working waterfront, spruced up ancient cannery buildings. Line the road, presently lodging tempting eateries, displays, and shops. Cannery Row was immortalized within the novel of the same title by John Steinbeck. The creator celebrated the free, energetic community amid a grittier past when the scent of sardines still ruled. You walk on, envisioning that you just can still sense the lingering smell over a long time. Presently, you're passing the Monterey Narrows Aquarium, eminent the world over for its collection of ocean life and breathtaking shows. It's too popular for its cautious inquiry about and broad preservation endeavors. You make a mental note to come back here sometime soon after the conclusion of your stay. For the present, in spite of the fact that you're appreciating the sea out over the water as you keep taking after the bayfront way, you're gradually clearing out behind. The more urban parcel of your route ahead is a progressively characteristic sight. Bunches of birds roost on rough outcroppings that frame time. tide stops around their bases and small inlets. The wind picks up a bit presently, and so do the waves. As you come closer to the mouth of the inlet in the open sea, it's brisk, but you're cozy and ensconced in your delicate sweater and strong windbreaker. You stop a minute in your walk, taking a favor to step out into one of the little rough bays. It dabs the waterfront there. You climb up onto the rocks for a higher view of the bay, gazing down into the dim water churning around the rocks. You take note it's blotched by ocean growth, floating on the beat of it. As your eyes get acclimated to the shadows, they pick out a diverse kind of development among the whirling seaweed, patiently observing the spot to capture the movement once more. You inevitably spy what it was. A small otter is coasting on its back. It's got something in its modest paws that it's lifting with a considerable development. Shell. Do you keep in mind hearing that ocean otters hold hands while they rest? You keep from floating absent from one another. And you ponder the event that there's another otter someplace adjacent to your eyes. Look at the foamy white caps of the breaking waves and the dark water between them. There aren't any other otters to be seen for the present, but you are capturing a scene of a shape bouncing up, and after that, shooting underneath the surface once more when it comes up a moment later. You realize that it's a seal. It looks like it's angling, or maybe playing within the waves you observe for a while, and it certainly does appear perky. Because it skips up and down within the water, you step closer to the edge of the lake. Tenderly, so as not to exasperate it, but all of a sudden, the dim, whiskered face freezes. It's seeing you. The small creature remains impeccably still for a moment, looking in your course, and you envision you'll be able to see its bristles trembling. At that point, it jumps underneath these, and you're around to turn absent when the seal pops up once more very near to you. It looks at you with wide eyes, and you're struck by its inviting interest, comparable to that of a pet puppy. You gaze into its eyes, charmed, until at last it turns as suddenly as it came and swims away. You observe it go with a feeling of appreciation for the minute of association. At that point, you wait for a while longer on the shake, checking the skyline in the hopes of glimpsing a whale gushet final. You turn and step carefully back to the shoreline, up to the way where you proceed along your way. You keep an eye on the skyline, in spite of the fact that this is, after all, moving season. You smile a little to yourself at the thought, since truth be told, it's about continuously moving season along the California coast for one kind of whale or another, and there are few superior places to spot them than here. But still, this specific season is extraordinary. This can be when the magnificent blue whales pass by in their seasonal revolution. Nourishing grounds and breeding grounds, these gigantic animals are the biggest ever to have lived on soil. Bigger than, indeed, the greatest known dinosaurs. Yet, these mammoths lived tenderly within the seas. They flowed through the water, touching it by scooping incredibly sizable chunks of ocean water and sifting it for minor shellfish, called krill. Did you review once hearing that a blue whale's heart alone weighs more than a little car? It's an astonishing bit of trivia about such an intriguing animal. These gigantic whales and their huge newborn children come into the Monterey Narrows to feed themselves in its wealthy waters. You envision them swimming along through the dull profundity's shore, strange and wonderful. You know that blue whales indeed swim while they rest or rest. These are ocean-dwelling, well-evolved creatures, must remain close to the surface of the sea to breathe, so they have advanced to never be completely oblivious. Or maybe they snooze while gradually swimming along to the beat of the water, which sounds fantastically tranquil to you. Blue whales are brilliant creatures. They communicate with one another submerged, their frequenting cause, frightfully excellent appear to reflect the secret and isolation of the sea's profundities, and they can be listened to by other whales up to 1,000 miles away. You've listened to these captivating whale melodies sometime recently. You almost fancy you'll be able to listen to them presently as you consider what may be hiding beneath the waters of the Narrows as you walk its shore. Envisioning the whale's cause appears to bring up a picture in your mind's eye of the profound chasm underneath the surface of Monterey Narrows. You picture the profound blue world and influencing kelp timberlands of this marine haven. It's simple to imagine the calm peace of its most profound parts as you take after the bending coastline. When the Narrows pours out into the Pacific, the shore and the arrive become more out-of-control viewpoint. Wind-cleared pine trees stand above the shore, and Monterey cypress develop in interesting forms, molded by the tenacious ocean. The shorelines ended up more extensive here, more uncovered the rough cliffs, greater and more sweeping. It strikes you as on the off chance that for the primary time that you're at the faraway western edge of the American landmass, where a few 2,800 miles arrive, drop absent into the unfathomability of the world's biggest sea. Looking at the battered edge of this incredible arrival mass, you see the life-making control of the crossing point of waves and arrive, water and wind. You've adjusted a breezy point at the mouth of the Narrows, strolling past a beacon that talks to you of ships within the night and the gutsy past. Before long, your feet have reached the sand. You're really on the coast. Presently, here an angle bounces, a fowl cries out, and a run takes flight in a moment. Ocean growth coasts and influences, and the trees move faintly, keeping their possessed chamber. Indeed, the waves appear nearly alive. As they recede and stream, moving gradually, on the off chance that you yourself were coasting along submerged, you float towards a wide shake at the tip of an outcropping that amplifies distance into the ocean coming to it. You situate yourself comfortably on the smooth shale surface. You turn your face to the open sea, and after that, see down from your roost on the sea below you. The waters are pulling absent, streaming out, and after that, out assist still sometime recently gathering themselves. To roll back in, they send up a cloud of spray when they come smashing against the rocks. You are feeling a fine moistening of salt water all over as the waves reach their stamp, and after that, sometime recently, you know it, they're pulling absent. Once again, your muscles unwind, and your intellect feels as wide and free as the Pacific Sea. Stretching out some time recently, you restfully. You let your eyes travel over the water, away to the bend of the skyline. You're not looking for anything presently, nor indeed truly looking at points of interest. Or maybe your gaze is just like the trees, retaining all that passes. Unobtrusively, dimly, you take in the location of a gush of white water, springing quietly over the surface shore. The gush. You see a huge gray-blue back surfacing, and you realize calmly, as if you'd known all along this would happen, that you are just seeing the rise of an extraordinary blue whale coming up to breathe. You observe the region of this. Ancient monsters are back because it waits over the waves, and you're feeling a profound sense of association, not fair with this wonderful and secretive animal, but with its prime. Evil precursors that swam these same waters with the trees that have stood still and attentive for hundreds of years, with the wind and with the waves. You discover your eyes closing presently. Your ears are tuning in to the rhythmic sound of the waves. Chants like crash and withdrawal, crash and retreat, letting the cool soul discuss. Fill your lungs. You're feeling your body settling against the ever-enduring shake underneath. You are completely at peace. You breathe in and out once more, an overpowering sense of unwinding washing over you as the waves wash over the rocks at your feet. You'll be able to feel the profound control of nature here, and the balance of all life that caused Monterey Cove its domesticity as the fragile splash of the waves touches your confront, you grin, thankful to be right here, right now, in this quiet minute